Hey everybody, welcome back to the Aroundtable. I'm your host Steven, and welcome back to the latest edition of my favorite franchises. I was calling them action, but it's action, sci-fi, adventure, everything all rolled up. The ones that have stuck with me, the ones that are usually the benchmarks for anything that I watch. I will compare it. I know I shouldn't, but a lot of times I will watch shows and say, how would it match up against, you know, this or that? And so next up, I'm going to talk about Star Trek. This is a show that I grew up with, and I'm still a fan of. My parents sat me down in the television. I was God, 2, 3 years old maybe. I didn't even understand what I was watching, but then through syndication again, watching the original series, getting hooked on it, wanting to be Captain Kirk as a kid. Star Trek has been ingrained. Sometimes I'll walk around and say, that's not logical, and Captain, I'm giving all that I've got, but the ship's gonna blow. All kinds of stuff. I reference almost a lot of stuff to Star Trek, and set phasers to stupid, whatever you want to call it. I have used Star Trek in some form or another as a reference to something. So it has been ingrained in me. I love this series. I love the movies, but it has stumbled multiple times during its career. I mean, it started in 1966 with the original series, only lasted, I think it was 3 seasons. Fan base saved it, brought it back to films. Then we had an outpour of TV series. Then there was gaps. So, I'll go through some of the things, right? I mean, the TV series was, the original was 1966 to 69. TNG was 87 to 94. DS9 was 93 to 99. Voyager 95 to 2001. Enterprise was 2001 2005. Discovery is 2017 to 2024. Picard is 2020 to 2023. We have, I think, Lower Decks was 2021, and then there's I think Section 31 that came out last year. I may be missing something along the way. Forgive me, I didn't watch all the animated series, so if I missed one, I apologize, and I mean no disrespect to any Star Trek fans who have seen them all. As for the TV shows and movies, it's hit and miss, like anything else that lasts over 50 years, right? I mean, what went wrong with this series? How can we put this in ways that I don't know. It's a hard thing because I love this series in almost every incarnation. So I'm gonna say because of Star Wars is more fantasy based, they have more leeway to where they can go with stories because it's not based in any sort of reality. Star Trek, its inception was basically Earth has now advanced to a way that we don't rely on money. We're here to advance science and technology. And the human journey is just as important as that 5 year mission. And that's Star Trek has always been more of the human adventure, as opposed to Star Wars is the fantasy. Although there is, I guess, similarities in which, the Force, you're challenging yourself to either be good or bad. But Star Trek has been more science based, I'm going to say, and more about individuality. It stumbled. Of course, it stumbled. I mean, there was times. I mean, we've heard rumors. If you were a Star Trek fan, the TV series, put in syndication, that was a risky move years ago. It wasn't as big as it is now. So you didn't get to watch it. Like I know in Montreal, I had a hard time finding it a lot of times. There was difficulty until like this. There was the sci-fi show that we had at the Space Channel that picked it up, and then okay, it's every Saturday. I know when it's coming on, so it's hard to find every once in a while. There's gaps in TV shows. If you look at after Enterprise in 2005, there's a 12-year gap of nothing Star Trek, right? There's no TV series until Discovery in 2017. Even that Discovery had a lot of issues. Like the seasons are hit and miss, and a lot of people were complaining about the binary and all this other stuff. But that's the other thing. Does Star Trek move forward like it's supposed to? Like Star Trek was about society advancing, but a lot of fans were like, "Hey, man, what are you talking about? Binary, and you can't. Don't do that." So there's always been that give and take of where Star Trek can and cannot go. Some fans don't want that to happen. Some fans want it, the episodic things. Some people want, a narrative throughout the whole season. There's always that push and pull of what can we do. The other thing, the quality Paramount Pictures, we saw that they were cheap when it came to the special effects in these movies. I mean, even the uniforms, apparently, I was hearing at one point, I read somewhere that by the time Star Trek 5 happened, they had the same red uniforms and they had to stand in one position all the time. So you can't see the rips of from the other movies. If you're going to try to bring this and move it forward, you got to sometimes put a little money on it. But Paramount was a little cheap with them. The gaps, and again, Star Trek was considered more of a philosophical and cerebral um, television series, and even to the movies in a certain extent. But then Mr. Abrams came out and tried to reboot the series. And as much as I enjoyed them, they're entertaining as all heck. I like all three. Even like, God, people are going to get mad. Like, Into Darkness. Yes, it is a ripoff of The Wrath of Khan. J.J. Abrams did it with The Force Awakens, Episode 4. And he did it with this. But was I entertained? Yeah. But that's the other thing. It's Star Trek is a lot more of an older audience. Trying to bring the new ones in, they really don't have a reference point. Like, if you tell them, I tried to get once my daughter to watch the original series, and she just, like, she's 22, and she just looked at me like, huh, sure, this is like the greatest thing of all time. A little snarky, but that's okay. Everybody their own, right? Each to each their own, right? I mean, you have to realize it was 1966. It's not the same technology as we have today. So she's, comparing this to Avatar. Yeah, it's gonna fall short. So reeling in that younger audience has been a challenge. Will always be a challenge, I think, until they find somebody that can bridge that gap, find a show that making a movie or a TV series that's both science-based, cerebral, philosophical, and then have some good action sequences if you can. Like, I mean, if you're going to go for strictly action and emotional impact, I mean, The Wrath of Khan, without a doubt. If somebody can redo something like that, have that kind of impact on a Star Trek movie to reel the people in. And I think that's what they tried to do with Into Darkness, but I think everybody saw that it was a Wrath of Khan, cut and paste from Star Trek 2 in a sense. So it didn't have the same ramifications, and that's fair. So what's going to take the Star Trek to work? I don't know. It's a hard question because there's so many things, gaps in series, the quality. I heard, haven't seen Section 31 yet, but I keep hearing it's all horrible. Strange New Worlds, I'm entertained. Does it provide hard hitting questions? Not really, but I'm entertained. And the guy Ensign Mount who plays Pike I think he's phenomenal and was born to play that character. I like the guy who plays Spock. I like everybody on here. I think it's a very entertaining show, no doubt. What do we have to do? I don't know. It's something that we have to, bring somebody in who can merge the old and the new a lot better than J.J. Abrams did. And look at the gaps between Abrams films. I mean, the last one was in 2016. And now they're talking about new movies. The gap is so long. You lost momentum with this, with the Chris Pine group. And I think they're decent. I think they're really good. I mean, I love the guy who plays Bones, I mean, it's fantastic. But, it's just the gaps between these, like even these ones, the gaps between them are just too long in between. You're not developing momentum. But how do you bring the old and the new in? I don't know. Because even with Strange New Worlds, like I said, it's great. It's episodic television again, like the original series, The Next Generation. But it is kind of lighthearted Trek. It's light. It's Star Trek light. if I can say it that way. And most of them are, these new shows are. So it's hard. I mean, it's a series that's going to struggle. I think, I hate to say it, it may fizzle out at one point, and but who knows? I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I hope one day somebody comes in and just finds the right dose of old and new, and kind of rejuvenates this series. I think that the guys they have now are okay, but it's Star Trek light. And and right now I'm okay with being entertained. As long as there's Star Trek out there, I'll watch it. I'll give it a shot. And I think most fans are, but if we're going to expect to be, kicked in our head, that's a horrible expression, forget it, to be challenged intellectually, philosophically, again, that hard, I don't think any kind of, I don't think CBS, Paramount want to risk challenging that. They want to just, let's keep it entertainment, and I understand that it's a lot easier to make, asking those hard hitting questions. You don't want to backlash. So I mean, I think they're stuck right now in a way that they have to do it. Maybe in a few years they can try something, but who knows? It's a great series. I think if you've never watched Star Trek, you owe it to yourself to watch it once. The quick fix, just make quality shows. I don't think you're going to find again issues that we're willing to take on TV in that realm. I mean, although it's easier in science fiction because it is the future. It's not like they're right now and it's going to hit us in the face. You can also change the names, like James Gunn did with Superman. We saw that it was the Ukraine and Russia. And they named it something else. I think Star Trek could do that. Do they want to? No. I think they want. I think they want to strictly get a wider audience. They want to. They want to compete now against Star Wars, and they're not going to do it by asking the hard hitting questions. If that's what it is, in a sense I'm okay with it because I'm entertained, and I like most of the series. Give or take, there's a bad season. Next Generation didn't hit its stride till the cutest came on board, and it switched gears. I mean, I think the first two seasons were kind of difficult. I mean, I kind of thought this is not going to make it. It's never going to do 7 seasons unless something drastic happens, right? So there has to be something drastic, like Picard. I didn't think the third season would be any good. I was ready to be disappointed. They find somebody who loves Trek who can bring that in, but again, that's old fans. They need to find something new. What it is, I'm not sure yet. I still am thinking about it to this day. But if you got any ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts with us. What's your favorite Star Trek movie? What's your favorite Star Trek TV series? Do you like them all? You don't care? You love to hear from you. This is Steven Roundtable with I don't even know where Star Trek went wrong. It stumbles from time to time, but I think that's normal after all these years. But that's me. I'll be seeing you soon, guys.